And so then I put my name down for the open weight, and then I couldn't drink water. I couldn't eat. I felt so weak, so like bad. And I started to think to myself, I believe in my technique. And that made me start to feel good.
I've used that line a lot too. And I tell my kids that.
And I started to say it again and again in my head until it was like a mantra. I believe in my technique, and it started to make me feel good. And I had no power, no strength, but I had my mindset, and the mindset gave me fuel to perform, right, or to feel good. And then I went out and I won my first match, and then another match, and then another match. I won the open weight, just with mindset, just with like my mental talk. I was like blown away. I was like, man, it's crazy. I even did the nogi later that day, and that was all on zero food, zero water, and just mindset, pure like self-talk, right?
Yeah.
And wow,
And I've used that story. You told me that when I was that like 6 years ago or something, when I was a blue belt, and I still use that. And just when we took our kids to compete this last time, we had a little girl. She just was like, she's been dominating, winning.
Yeah,
but now she's at this point where she's been winning so often, she's scared to lose. And she was having all these confidence issues. And then that was the conversation we had, was like, I believe in my technique, and it's the power of your mind. And she went out there and got gold.
Did good, yeah.
So, yeah.
Made her feel like got in the right mind space.
Yeah. So it kind of circles back all the way to the Jocko stuff, like just taking initiative and what's in
Taking
your control,
what's
taking
in your
responsibility.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I always tell the story to everybody, just on your elbow. Your elbow, like you were going to go again, the Philippines, and you hurt your good elbow, and your bad elbow, the other elbow, you hurt your elbow like a while back. You went to the doctor. He put you in a sling.
Yes.
And like a year and a half, couple years later, it still bothered you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you fell like right before you were going to go.
2 days before I was to the Philippines.
Of course, right before you're going to go, you're going to fly across the world, with the air pressure and everything else. And you have a tournament the next week. And you're like, oh my God. I'm like, okay. Do the, those hitchhikers and the movement.
I did the whole time on the plane. I can't sleep on the planes. It was like 18 hours to the Philippines.
Anytime you're in pain, when you're going you feel the pressure, move your elbow. I showed you how to tape your elbow before your match, so it's more secure. And then you said it got better, right? Like, but the thing is, like, the guy who coined the term rice, and I shared you the video, right? The guy who rice, right? Rest, ice, compression, elevation. But the whole ice thing, okay, cool. It's like some feedback for your brain, right? But like, you want to move your stuff to give feedback to the brain that everything is okay.
Yep.
So the immune system doesn't send the inflammation, and then you get all these roadblocks, and it doesn't heal properly.
Yeah.
So right away, you move your stuff right away. If you can't move that side, you move the other side, because how the brain is crisscross. And then because sometimes you're so in shock that you can't move that elbow.
Yeah.
So you move the other elbow, right? And then you can move the other one with time.
Yep.
But you move your stuff right away, right?
Yeah. Well, now I do that with all my injuries, because that one tournament, oh man, it was so bad. Do you remember that? It was like a Casey Katami, and she put my arm in her legs, and she bridged over my elbow. My elbow was like, pa, pa, pa. And then that was the one I slinged.
That was the one.
Yeah, that was the one. The right one was the one I slinged. I didn't use, just kept it still. And then, that was years ago. And that elbow still is like I move it all the time, but it's still not as good as the other one.
Right.
And then right before the Philippines, very similar thing happened, like really bad hyperextension. And you were just like, don't stop moving it. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to stop moving it, and did all the like extends, bends, circles, massage. Yeah. I put my hands on the back of the plane on the chairs. On the chairs, and I was like twisting my elbows.
That purple in front of you was like, what the?
Yeah, I'm like,
why is she pushing me?
I'm like, I gotta heal my elbow. But I never stopped moving it, and that how
fast did it heal?
Elbow healed so much faster.
How long was it before?
Just like a couple weeks.
A couple weeks.
But it took consistency, and it wasn't comfortable.
Right. But your signal was like, it doesn't feel good. It's throbbing or whatever, and that's your signal to move it, right? That was.
Yeah. And so now, and then the one I took still, now I just feel like it's like crunchy in there.
It rains,
It's got like scar tissue in there and whatever else. So yeah, every time now when I hurt myself, it's like, I gotta move it.